You bought a lavender plant once, maybe more than once. You brought it home. You gave it a good spot. You watered it carefully. You watched it every single day. And then, slowly, it started looking wrong. The leaves turned gray. The stems went soft. And one morning you walked outside and it was just dead. A pile of dry sticks where something beautiful used to be. And you blamed yourself. Maybe you thought, I just don't have the right hands for this. Maybe you decided lavender just wasn't for you. Maybe you walked past it at the nursery last spring and kept walking, because what was the point? I want you to hear this clearly. That was not your fault. You were given wrong information. And wrong information kills plants just as surely as drought or disease. Today, I'm going to give you the real story. 5 things about lavender that almost nobody tells you at the garden center. These aren't tips I made up. These come from watching how lavender actually lives in the wild, on rocky hillsides in southern France and Spain, where nobody waters it, nobody feeds it, nobody fuses over it at all. And those plants live for 20-30 years. By the time we reach number 5, you will understand exactly what went wrong before and exactly what to do differently this time. Stay with me, especially for number 3, because that one alone has saved more lavender plants than any other piece of advice I've ever shared. Secret 1. Stop treating it like a plant. Treat it like a weed. The single biggest mistake people make with lavender is treating it like something fragile. It isn't. In the wild, lavender grows out of cracks in limestone. It bakes under relentless sun for months. It goes without rain for so long that any other plant would have surrendered. And it doesn't just survive. It thrives. It flowers harder. It smells stronger. It spreads wider. Those breathtaking lavender fields you see in photographs from Provence? Nobody is coddling those plants. They're being almost entirely ignored on an industrial scale. The secret to those fields is benign neglect. So when you bring lavender home and immediately start nurturing it like a beloved houseplant, watering on a schedule, feeding it rich compost, surrounding it with mulch and organic matter, you aren't helping it. You're confusing it. You're drowning a desert plant in comfort it was never designed for. Here's the shift in thinking that changes everything. Find the worst spot in your garden, the corner where nothing grows, the slope that bakes dry in July, the thin, rocky patch where you've given up on everything else. That is your lavender bed. Stop saving the good soil for lavender. Save that for your tomatoes. Lavender wants the difficult spots. Give it the leftovers, and it will reward you with years of effortless beauty. Secret 2. The soil trick that changes everything. Let's talk about drainage, because this is where most people go wrong before the plant even goes in the ground. You've probably heard that lavender needs well-drained soil. And you've probably thought, yes, my garden bed drains reasonably well, that counts. It doesn't. Not even close. When lavender growers talk about drainage, they mean something more extreme than you're imagining. Here is what you actually do. Dig your planting hole twice as wide as the root ball, but only as deep. Take the soil you removed and throw at least half of it away. Replace that half with coarse sand or horticultural grit. Not fine beach sand. Not play sand from a hardware store. Builder's sand, or better yet, the chunky horticultural grit that water rushes through in seconds. Mix this thoroughly with what remains of your native soil. You've just recreated the texture of a Mediterranean hillside. Now here's the part most people skip. Build a small mound. Plant your lavender on top of a slight raised hump, 2 or 3 inches above the surrounding ground level. Water will drain away from the crown of the plant rather than pooling around it. Because lavender doesn't die of thirst. It drowns. Even in summer, even when the weather feels dry to you, the roots want to breathe more than they want to drink. That small mound is the difference between a plant that thrives for 15 years and one that quietly rots through its first winter. And one more thing. If anyone has told you to add compost or manure to your lavender bed, stop. Rich soil makes lavender grow fast and soft and floppy. It produces fewer flowers and weaker fragrance, because the essential oils that give lavender its scent are actually concentrated when the plant is under mild stress. Pampered lavender is a boring lavender. Keep the soil lean. Keep it mean. That's when the real beauty comes through. Secret 3. The watering rule that saves everything. This is the one. If you take nothing else from today, take this. Stop watering your lavender. Almost entirely. I know that sounds wrong. Every instinct you have as a person who cares about plants tells you that water equals life. But for lavender, that equation is reversed. The wilting, the yellowing lower leaves, the sad gray color that makes you reach for the hose, those are signs of overwatering 9 times out of 10. The plant isn't thirsty. It's drowning. Here is the only rule you need. For the first 2 or 3 weeks after planting, water deeply once a week while the roots find their footing. After that, you water only when there has been no rain for 2 to 3 weeks and the soil 2 inches below the surface is completely bone dry. Push your finger into the soil. If you feel any moisture at all, walk away and come back in a few days. In winter, you don't water at all. Not even a little. Not even if it's been dry for weeks. Cold soil combined with wet roots is the single biggest killer of established lavender. People lose more plants to well-intentioned December watering than to any frost, any pest, any disease. Your lavender is dormant. Let it sleep dry. If you're growing in a pot, the rules are even stricter. Always use terracotta. Never plastic, never glazed ceramic. Terracotta breathes through its walls and pulls moisture away from the roots the way no plastic pot ever can. Drill extra drainage holes if your pot only has one. Tip the pot at a slight angle so water can't collect at the base. Better yet, get rid of the saucer entirely. Your plant doesn't need a puddle sitting under it. Secret 4. How to prune without killing it. If you've ever pruned your lavender correctly and then watched it slowly go hollow and woody and dead in the center, raise your hand. This happens constantly, and it happens because pruning lavender is genuinely counterintuitive. You have to be more aggressive than feels right, but you also have to know exactly where to stop. Cross one invisible line and the damage is permanent. Here is the full method. Lavender needs 2 prunings every year. The first comes in early spring, just as you see fresh green growth pushing out of the gray stems. Take your sharpest pruners and cut the entire plant into a tight, tidy dome, removing about 1/3 of the green growth. Not a light pass, a real confident cut. You are sculpting the plant. The second pruning comes right after flowering finishes, usually in late summer or early autumn. This time cut back harder. Remove all the spent flower stems and take another inch or 2 of green growth below them, again shaping the plant back into a dome. Now the rule that saves the plant. Never ever cut into the woody, leafless stems at the base. Lavender wood does not regenerate. Unlike a rose, unlike most shrubs, if you cut into bare brown wood, that branch is gone forever. A plant that has been cut into the wood will not recover. Always leave at least 1 full inch of green growth above the woody section. You are trimming the leafy top. You are never cutting the trunk. Do this twice a year from the very first year, even when the plant is small and you feel cruel cutting something so young. Your lavender will stay compact and full and productive for 10, 15, even 20 years. Miss a pruning cycle, and the plant begins splitting open, going woody and hollow, and within 2 or 3 seasons it becomes unsalvageable. Correct pruning on time every time is the entire secret to lavender that genuinely lasts. Secret 5. Pick the right variety for where you actually live. Here is the final piece, and it determines whether any of the other 4 even matter. Most lavender that dies in home gardens dies because the wrong type was planted in the wrong climate. The lavender that thrives in the cool, damp countryside of England is a completely different plant from the one that handles a hot, humid southern summer or a midwestern winter with real snow and freezing nights. There are 3 groups worth knowing. English lavender, the angustifolia types like Munstead and Hidcote, are the most cold-hardy and the most fragrant if you want to use lavender in cooking. If you have real winters, this is your plant. It handles frost beautifully. It struggles in heavy humidity. French and Spanish lavenders, the Stoichas varieties with those dramatic little petal flags on top, are gorgeous, but they hate frost. If you're in a warm coastal climate, or you're growing in pots you can bring inside for winter, they're spectacular. If you're in a genuinely cold climate, treat them as annuals or don't plant them at all. Then there's lavandin, the big hybrid varieties like Grosso and Provence. These are the workhorses. They handle heat. They handle some humidity. They produce enormous blooms. They are forgiving of mistakes in a way that few other lavenders are. For most climates and most beginners, lavender is simply the smartest choice. Walk into the nursery knowing which group fits where you live. Don't buy a French lavender because it's beautiful if your winters will kill it. Don't plant English lavender in steamy summer heat and wonder why it failed. Matching the plant to your actual climate does more for your success than any other single decision you will make. 5 secrets, and now you have them. Treat lavender like the tough, sun-hardened survivor it actually is. Give it the worst soil you have and build it a small mound to keep its roots dry. Water it almost never and never at all in winter. Prune it twice a year with confidence, but never cut into the wood. And choose the variety that matches the climate you actually live in, not the one from a dream. That plant you gave up on, it was always possible. It just needed the truth. If this helped you, please hit subscribe because every week we bring you the real story behind the plants people say they can never grow. Hit the bell so you don't miss it, and drop a comment below. Tell me which one of these 5 surprised you most, or which one you've been getting wrong all along. Until next time, get outside, plant something, and this time let it thrive.